Hey people, this is going to be the video about the DC character Phantom Lady, who is also a legacy character, and due to that many people have taken up the mantle. Without further ado, I'm gonna focus now on the first character, Phantom Lady number 1. Is originally not a DC character. She was created by Quality Comics and debuted in Police Comics issue number 1 in August 1941. She was then reintroduced when DC purchased all of the Quality Comics characters on Earth 2 in Justice League of America issue 107 in October 1973, and then after that she was moved to Earth X after she had a few adventures on Earth 2. Now, her proper debut in the main DC universe was in All-Star Squadron issue 60 in August of 1986, and that was then on Earth 1, and Earth 1 became New Earth until everything was rebooted with the New 52, and New Earth became Prime Earth, not to be confused with Earth Prime. It's complicated. Anyway, now in her Quality Comics origin, she was created by Arthur F. Petty, and she lived in an apartment in Washington, D.C. Her fiance was Don Borden, who worked for the U.S. State Department, and her father is an U.S. Senator named Henry Knight. Don frequently was a source of valuable tips and clues for the Phantom Lady, as she was already deep into the superhero business during her debut in Police Comics issue number 1, because as it turns out, this was just her first published adventure, but she had already been the Phantom Lady for some time. Now, traditionally, Sandra Knight was drawn with a scandalous outfit back for the 40s. I don't think it's now scandalous, but in the 40s it was. And she had the trademark good girl art. I can't really explain that, what good girl art is, but Google it and you'll find it. It's a particular art back in the 40s. It was quite popular as a motive. It's similar to pin-up dolls, but not quite like that. So after Quality Comics stopped producing her adventures, Sandra Knight was then the Sandra Knight Adventures of the Phantom Lady was then published by Fox Feature Syndicates and Star Publications, with the latter's art getting so gratuitous that one of its covers landed in the controversial book Seduction of the Innocent. And for those who don't know, Seduction of the Innocent is basically the reason why the Comic Code Authority existed and comics became so silly for a while. Now, then she appeared in other comic books and without copyright. So, and that happened around the time DC purchased the Quality Comics characters. So, those who did those bootleg Phantom Lady comics, they had to change everything. So, yeah, and this bootleg character is still around under a new name and in a different costume. That shows even more skin. But now back to DC. Now, like I said, DC purchased Sandra and then integrated her in the DC universe with a reworked backstory that tied her to another Golden Age character by the name of Ted Knight, alias the original Starman. So, in her DC origin, she was the cousin of Ted Knight, who inspired Ted to become Starman. Now, with most World War II characters, they were either put on Earth 2 or Earth X. In her case, she was first put on Earth 2 and then later moved to Earth X until most Earth 2 characters found a way somehow to Earth 1. Now, in her DC origin, she was a society girl, but still the daughter of Henry Knight, and the character of Don Borton was kind of completely removed. But yeah, she lived an unadventurous life until the day her father was the victim of an assassination attempt, which Sandra herself foiled. This incident prompted her to become a crime fighter armed with a black light ray developed by an old friend named Professor Davis, which could either blind her opponents with a field of darkness or make her invisible. She called herself then the Phantom Lady and fought crime both solo and as a member of the All-Star Squadron. Now, the All-Star Squadron is a team mainly consisting of World War II heroes, similar to the Freedom Fighters. Phantom Lady number 2 had her first appearance in Action Comics issue 636 back in January 1989 and died in Infinite Crisis issue number 1 in 2005. Essentially, Delilah Tyler has the same origin as her predecessor, and her costume is drawn even more excessive because of Chuck Austin, who's responsible for one of the worst X-Men content in comics, but still a good artist. But I have so much contempt for this guy. Anyway, Delilah Tyler, or as she's mostly called Dee in the comics, is the beautiful daughter of a U.S. Attorney General named Albert Tyler. Being both bright and athletically gifted, Dee becomes the understudy of the original Phantom Lady, Stormy Knight, at the Our Lady of the Shadows University in France. Instead of using her training to become a government spy, which was her original intention, Dee was inspired to continue the legacy of her mentor as the next Phantom Lady. She discovered that her father was being blackmailed by a man named Edwin Gerhardt and decided to take matters into her own hands. Using a costume designed to distract attention and gadgets supplied by her roommate Sarah. Yeah, so that's the main reason why she's drawn like that. But yeah, she began beating up criminals, and pumping the underworld for information. Her first high-profile battle happened when the vice president and speaker of the house were kidnapped by high-tech criminals working for the organization she was tracking down, the Thousand Eyes. It's a cool name, but I don't think it had anything cool to do because Dee Tyler kind of sucks. Still, she didn't deserve the end she got, you will see. Now, she began using her stealth training to lead an assault on the mansion of Gerhardt and her father's aide Roger Richter, or Richter, because I'm familiar with the German language and pronouncing it Richter is absolutely wrong. But there is no sound in the American language, so that the CH becomes a K, whatever. But it annoys me every time when people say Richter, because it's supposed to be Richter, which means judge in English. But anyway, again, you've learned something. Then she struck at the man directly as a warning, permanently blinding his face. I mean, this Gerhardt, with a laser when he tried to shoot her. Next, Dee discovered that the blackmail had been evidence suggesting her father was a member of the Ku Klux Klan in his youth. But as her father explained, it wasn't him, but her brother Beau Tyler helped lynch a man, and then used photos to make sure he would never talk about it. Bew had then gone on to become a professional criminal and was the leader of the Thousand Eyes. Despite his innocence, Albert resigned because he was tired of living in fear. So that's the major story arc she had. Afterwards, she had a brief solo career, which included a tryout for the Birds of Prey, and then Dee Tyler joined the Freedom Fighters, just like the original Phantom Lady. Ultimately, Dee would fall victim to the blade of Deathstroke during Infinite Crisis and made her last appearance as a zombie during the Blackest Night event. Now, you may think getting killed by Deathstroke is not too bad, but if you look at the art, which I can't show for copyright reasons and age reasons, so I don't want to get age restricted or anything like that, it's pretty gruesome. Not as gruesome as some other deaths that happened in comics, but still very awful, because up to Infinite Crisis, Deathstroke was a straight up villain. But enough of Dee Tyler, and next to Stormy Knight. In the end, I don't think Dee Tyler was a worthy successor to the Phantom Lady title, and it's a shame how she went out still. But at least the next version is a little bit better than Dee Tyler. And sorry if I skimmed over some things, but I still want you people to read the comics and experience it for yourself, sir. And I only have limited time for the sake of my sanity to talk about subjects. Now on to Phantom Lady number 3, who first appeared in Battle for Bloodhaven issue number 2 in June 2006. This Phantom Lady was created by writer Grant Morrison, Jim Palmiotti, Justin Gray, and artist Dan Jurgens. Now, this version is called Stormy Knight, which always reminds me of an actress. Won't specifically say who the actress is, but there was times in it where during writing the script when I actually typed in the actress name instead of Stormy Knight. Anyway, you may remember the actress, sorry, from the incident she had with Trump. But let's move on. Now, Stormy Knight was an attempt to modernize not just Phantom Lady, but all of the freedom fighters, and I have a great admiration for Grant Morrison. He also reinvented the Doom Patrol, which you can kind of see now in the Doom Patrol TV series, which is mostly based on Grant Morrison's work. Anyway, this time Stormy had no relation to either Sandra Knight nor Dee Tyler, but she's also the daughter of Senator Henry Knight, but not the same Henry Knight as in Sandra Knight's father. So, a different man, a different senator named Henry Knight. Confusing, I know, but anyway. Now, Stormy could have settled for the comfortable life of a debutante, but instead decided to pursue the more exciting life of a superhero, debuting in the pages of Battle for Bloodhaven miniseries, like I said, as an agent of SHADE. SHADE is an interesting organization in the DC universe, somewhat villainous, but also heroic, led by Father Time, a guy who constantly regenerates into a new body and recently was depicted in the New 52 as a little girl because, well, that's his superpower. Anyway, now Stormy was actually secretly watching SHADE on her father's behalf, so all the actions and reported for her father what Shade was doing. Unfortunately, the leader of Shade Father Time, like I said, found out that Stormy was a double agent and had her father secretly killed and replaced by, and it's funny to say, Gonzo the Mechanical Bastard. A kind of supervillain, but anyway. Gonzo began acting on Father Time's behalf as Henry Knight, and that would effectively allow the country to be run as a dictatorship enforced by Father Time's meta-human army. Now, Stormy or Phantom Lady was sent to capture Uncle Sam with other Shade agents, but in the end they joined Uncle Sam and became the new freedom fighters. They helped him to rescue the Firebrand at that time, who I believe was... Sorry, there are many Firebrands, so I'm particularly familiar with the Rod Riley and the Ned Riley versions, but this was Alex Sanchez at the time. Anyway, moving on. And as freedom fighters, they began fighting against the agents of Shade. They later recruited John Trujillo, the latest incarnation of Black Condor, which is also an interesting character, kind of. And it was all kind of a mess with Father Time and Uncle Sam constantly deceiving each other. And by the way, I think Uncle Sam is such a lame character. Sorry. And Uncle Sam also revealed to Stormy that her father was dead and being impersonated by Gonzo the Mechanical Bastard. When she later found out that this was true, Stormy was devastated, and combined with manipulations by a fake Miss America, another character from the 40s, this led to have her having trouble accessing her powers. Although she overcame that with the help of Black Condor and later joined the reorganized freedom fighters. But all the trauma she had received during her superhero career led to her having a serious drinking problem, and she was then sequestered in the Heartland for rehabilitation by Uncle Sam, who told her that she can't leave until she has overcome her alcohol addiction. Anyway, she still had trouble coping and later attempts suicide, but is then found by Dollman, who's gonna be important for the next Phantom Lady. Anyway, the real Miss America removed all toxins from Phantom Lady's body, allowing her to recuperate better. And then she retired after recovering from her alcohol addiction. So she wasn't a superhero anymore and became briefly an actress in Hollywood. But before the New 52 happened, Stormy Knight returned to being the Phantom Lady and was seen as a member of the Freedom Fighters. Now, generally she was portrayed as bratty and snobbish, but in reality, Stormy Knight was much more of a badass and not shying away from killing people. So the whole high society thing was just a cover up for her real personality. So far we haven't seen the Stormy Knight version in the New 52 or DC Rebirth as I'm aware, and I think that has to do with the next Phantom Lady and her role. A quick side note, I'm wrong. Sorry, I was hastily fact checking, and the Firebrand version was not Alex Sanchez but Andre Twist, another and shortly introduced and then kind of forgotten. That's all. I'm moving on now. Now we're coming to the last of our characters for today, and I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Knight, who was introduced back in 2012 in Phantom Lady #1, introduced in the New 52, and for the first time in her own book. Gone is the skimpy outfit, replaced with a more tactical one. When she was little, Jennifer Knight witnessed the murder of her parents on Christmas Eve. Her father had been one of the best reporters on the Daily Planet's crime beat and was close to breaking the case against crime boss Robert Bender until Bender found out. So there's already a big change. Instead of being a US senator or general or district attorney, it's a reporter, and it takes place in Metropolis instead of Washington DC, as most of the other Phantom Ladies before did. Phantom Girl is another character from the Legion of Superheroes. I might cover that character too, but given how much I needed time for this one, we'll see. Anyway, back to the subject. Now, this caused Jennifer to swear vengeance against the Bender family with the intent of bringing them all down. As an adult, she tries to enact her revenge by infiltrating the inner circle of her parents' murders. However, her cover is quickly discovered, forcing Jennifer to seek help from her friend Dane Maxwell, hoping to use his genius to hack Cyrus Bender's cell phone. However, Cyrus' henchmen tracked him down and apparently killed Dane inside his own machine. Jennifer later is rescued by Dane, who had become miniaturized. He gives her a special suit and gloves, enabling to manipulate shadows and turn intangible. So before it was kind of a wristband, but I'm gonna get into the gimmick of Phantom Lady at the end of the video. So yeah, with this equipment, she then chooses to become a vigilante known as Phantom Lady, and in the New 52 continuity, she is the first one to use the Phantom Lady alias. In her solo series, Jennifer fights with parents' murders and Dane Maxwell, now going by Doorman, against Cyrus Bender's operations and stuff like that. She also comes in contact with the villain Funerella. Really interesting villain. I think not suitable to go against a character like Phantom Lady, but I have to admit that I didn't read the Phantom Lady solo series back in 2012. Anyway, ultimately, Phantom Lady traps Cyrus' mind in the shadow dimension, thereby avenging her family. Dollman and Phantom Lady are then visited again by Uncle Sam and Ray, who recruits the pair into a government-run superhero task force. And although the team doesn't have a name yet, considering the history of the previous Phantom Ladies, it can be presumed that this will be the New 52 version of the Freedom Fighters. Now, Jennifer Knight has, so far as I'm aware, not made an appearance in DC Rebirth, so I'm not sure if they bring back her or Stormy or any other versions, but Jennifer for now is the actual version of Phantom Lady and will be replacing Stormy Knight indefinitely. So we still have to see a bit how that's gonna turn out in the future. Okay, now it's time that I discuss the equipment of the Phantom Lady, or rather say the main equipment that makes her even the Phantom Lady. Now, the Phantom Lady uses the black light ray, or black light bands, or black ray gun, or black ray goggles. You get the point. Each one having their own kind of version. For example, Sandra Knight used the black ray gun and black ray goggles. Her replacement on New Earth had a black light ray, as well as the goggles, but that was more of an aesthetic choice. Anyway, Dee Tyler's whole costume was made with blacklight technology, including a hologram projector, an invisibility cloak, goggles, and a small laser. After Dee was killed, Stormy Knight took over as Phantom Lady, and Stormy used highly technological blacklight bands, an improved version of the original ray. And Stormy's replacement on Prime Earth, Jennifer Knight, returned to using her outfit suit to harness the black light. Now, Stormy could even alter reality with her black light bands, and Sandra Knight could temporarily phase through different universes of the multiverse. That's how the Freedom Fighters moved from Earth X then to Earth 1 back in the days, by using Sandra's ability to go through the multiverse. Now, they all access a kind of shadowy dimension through which the different users can open portals to traverse over long distances in a heartbeat, become intangible, become invisible, and teleport, and in some cases even, like I said, manipulate reality and darkness. Having that said, I thank you all for watching this video, and it took so long for me because I'm currently struggling with sleep paralysis and anxiety issues. So yeah, I hope you understand. I hope you enjoyed, and we see us in the next video. Now I'm cutting to my outro. Thank you again.
Well, the books are full of words that you read, and the show gets me paid.